Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson and this is As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 21st day of October 2024. Well, I hope you've had a good weekend. It's getting colder here, and although it was a warm wind yesterday, so I don't know if it got to, I think it got into the 70s yesterday, but right now it looks pretty gloomy outside. The wind's blowing and like it was yesterday, and the leaves are all falling. And, I planted my garlic yesterday and did a little more harvesting of calendula blossoms for oils and salves here for the winter time, which I absolutely love. I've already got today's runes pulled because I started this already one time. And let's take a look at those. We've got Ingus, which is the 22nd rune of the Elder Futhark, so it's got a Master 22 energy to it. Master 22 numerology is the cosmic builder. So you're looking at profound soul level change. What will you manifest today? And Ingus is a real manifestation rune. You can draw it a couple of different ways. You can either use the diamond like I do, or you can use an X on top of one another, but when you connect the two, you've got a diamond in between. I'll show you what I mean by that. I just find that when I'm doing bind runes, I think that the diamond works better for me than this one does. But you see, you've got the diamond in the center, and so Ingus is essentially it's a point of singularity that expands into, and with a very concentrated focus, it focus, and then it's so strong that it then blasts into manifestation, right? And so it's a point of singularity that essentially becomes manifested. It means the seed, it means potential. It's literally very similar in energy to the Fool in the tarot, in the major arcana, the card 0. It's about grounding, inner focus, male fertility. It's a good bind rune, or it's a good rune to use in a bind rune in the garden. You could, in fact, draw your beds. If you're doing raised beds, you could do diamond-shaped raised beds, and that would bring in the energy of Ingus into your garden. But basically, it's Kenaz in this diamond shape here. You're looking at Kenaz in all directions, pointed inward. Directed inward. So you've got Kenaz is shaped like this, and you can see you can find Kenaz here, 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 and here. And so it's all of that. Kenaz is the torch, and so it's the light of spirit. So you're having all that soul energy concentrating into Ingus. Now, interestingly enough, when I threw down the Geomancy runes, we had Carcer on Thursday of last week. We're going to have it again today. But what you're looking at, and I'll show you, here you have two kinds of concentrated focus, if you will. Again, with Ingus, it's higher self. It's higher awareness. It's soul energy, essentially. But with Carcer, on the other hand, is ego focus. And it's so concentrated that it keeps you stuck in one sense of one type of belief structure, or anything that is going to hold you back from moving forward, essentially, and maybe shifting your perception into something else. It prevents you. Carcer is that energy of the ego that prevents you from doing that. It has such a strong hold on your mindset that you can't let go of beliefs or perceptions that are really not valid, aren't serving you in any kind of positive way, but you just can't step out of that. So you're stuck there. You're stuck in perception with Carcer. And it makes it difficult to then see the truth of any situation, because you're always judging it by that mindset that you're hanging on to, that you just can't seem to let go. Well, that's the ego's hold on that. Instead of considering each thing that comes in by something that is less judgmental and just looking at the facts, doing your due diligence, and coming up with some kind of a decision about it and about how you see it, how you perceive it, you don't even do that. You refuse to look at anything that could dispel some of the stuff that you believe, or challenge it or counter it. and so to me, it's fear-based, whereas Ingus is love-based and higher awareness-based. And so you really are looking at two different things. On Thursday we had Manaz and Karser. And Manaz means man, or the individual within society, and it's a very complex rune, as we talked about. But it's really high vibratory. So again, you were looking at the same difference in energy, literally at opposite ends of the spectrum, or maybe this way, we should say, whereas this would be the above side of things. This would definitely be the below side of things. And so think about this in terms of, how do you manifest today? Are you manifesting from an ego standpoint that won't let you see the truth in anything? Or are you manifesting from higher awareness, where you stand back and you observe and you see and you assess and you watch, you observe, and you allow that sense of grounding in spirit, if you will, instead of grounding in the ego, to govern how you ultimately see things. You consider the possibility of things with Ingus, but with Karser you don't. And so you see the difference in what we're looking at here today, at least in terms of the runes. But let's go ahead and I'll just do a little bit more shuffling, and then I'll go ahead and cut the deck and take the lower half, and we'll pull 3 cards and see what they have to say about all this, how they're going to define it maybe further. How are you imprisoning yourself? How are you imprisoning your own perceptions when you have all this truth out there that is telling you something else, and is suggesting that, well, no. It's like if somebody claims to have done something, but it was really somebody else who did it. That's verifiable, right? There's witnesses. There's maybe a paper trail. I mean, there's something, right? That you can see that obviously somebody is not telling the truth, but they still expect you to believe that. So again, the people that are whose perceptions are so stuck in one thing that they can't move outside of it or consider anything else, they're just going to believe whatever they're told, and they're not even going to question it. And Ingus would suggest something else. The inner focus that sees the potential there of something different, of maybe some truth that we're not aware of. And now we're listening to it, we're looking at it, we're doing our due diligence, and, there you go. So, well, we have 2 cards from the major arcana, so 2 soul archetype cards influencing with the 22 numerology of Ingus. That makes sense. We have the Fool and the Chariot. And then we have the 9 of Swords. So waking up from a nightmare, well, the nightmare of perceptions that you're being stuck in, and that you're buying into stuff people are saying that aren't true, and you don't have the ability to question that, right? Well, what a nightmare that creates, right? Especially when you know in your heart that something isn't right here, but you're afraid to step outside the comfort zone the ego provides, that is deceptive and containing, basically, preventing you from considering other things. You're just, it's like you're imprisoned, but it's really the choice that you're making to be there. You can make another choice, just like that. Just shift your attention and say, okay, I'm going to think about this differently today. And then embrace the Fool. Here we have the Fool on the precipice there. The Fool's gaze is up toward heaven, up toward spirit. You see the yellow sky emanating there from the sun, all this energy. The sun represents the creator. And so he's got his little knapsack or satchel actually, over his shoulder. And the Fool is ready to go, bringing with him, I say him, he's actually androgynous at this point. We don't know what the Fool is at this point. Till the Fool takes the leap, it's just easier to say he, because it looks like a he to me. He's holding a white rose in his left hand for purity and newness, and helping him take that leap with love in his heart. And you see well, you see a lot of different things. I think you see some greenery on his tunic here that he's wearing. You've got the inside of it you see the red fabric on the inside of his sleeves there. He's taking this leap intentionally. You see his dog at his side. Again, the satchel holds all the things that he needs to do, the choices that he's made ahead of time of what he's going to learn and what he's going to experience, he or she is going to experience in form. You see the little circles here. These are the wheels, to show the cyclical nature of this whole experience of taking that leap and living that life and coming back into the soul aspect of self versus the physical aspect of self, and then doing it all over again in terms of reincarnation and rebirth into new experiences. And so you see the infinity of the zero here. This is an infinite type of a thing that happens. But basically, it's trusting the process. He doesn't even have to look where he or she is going. I guess they're really in the they perspective at this point. If you're talking non-binary here, the fool is just willing to take that leap into form, trusting the process, and expressing its potential in a way that is not particularly subjective at this point. He or she is not going to make too many decisions about it. He or she is just going to let that whole experience unfold and see what happens. But again, that's that freedom of spirit that allows you to embrace each moment without expectation and without a preconceived notion of things. And that's where I think Carcer comes in and says, well, yeah, but not so fast. The ego wants you to be stuck in whatever the ego wants, and make it more difficult for you to experience life in a way that you're embracing the unknown and without any preconceived notions, without any expectations of one thing or another happening. You're just looking at the truth of the moment and experiencing that, again, without judgment or preconceived notion. And then we move on to, you know what we have to do? Well, let's talk about and then we'll go back before we go to the 9, and we'll do the numerology. Here we have the 7th card of the major arcana, the Chariot. Chariot's really all about movement and mastery, but it's also about surrender versus control. You surrender to spirit with Ingus, or you're going to let ego control you. One of the two. That's the dichotomy, and it's really embraced well here in the Chariot card. Here you see the dark and the light as well. They're lions, but they're sphinxes. They're dressed as sphinxes. You see the balance here with each wheel. You see the balance of the kingdom behind him. The king is no longer holding on to any reins. You see the sun disk here with the wings extended from it. That's a sign of healing. You see the Shiva Lingam here with the idea of manifestation. You can see really Maiden, Mother, and Crone. If you look at this part here, as also an expression of the moon here, the moon and the stars here. You see both moons there on his shoulders there. You see also, one thing you also see here is the glyph for earth, which is the square there, the cube, and so grounding yourself into a balance instead of letting yourself swing wildly. It's like the difference between mood swings and someone who's more steady emotionally. But again, you're looking at balance, you're looking at movement, mastery, again, knowing when to take the reins and when to drop resistance, and not assert yourself, to just stand back and watch. And that seems to be everything is at rest. The Chariot also represents victory. You see the Merkabahs here and the drape above, and basically the Chariot represents the soul vehicle, or the Merkabah that the soul travels in. So when you become stuck, well, hold that thought. When you become stuck, don't forget that. Let me do we've got 22 for the numerology for Ingus. We don't have a 0 as nothing, and then we've got, well, it's not nothing, but it's nothing. We won't add that in. We've got a 9 here for the 9 of swords, and we have a 7. So that's 38. Let me do that again. 22 plus 9 plus 7 is 38. 8 and 3 is 11. And so, interestingly enough, so we have the master 22 number for Ingus, and we have the master 11 for the whole reading. So again, and then with 2 soul archetype cards with the major arcana, we have a very, very strong soul influence that's really demanding that you pay attention to the nightmare, essentially, that you have when you are waking up from the nightmare. It's interesting about this card. He's holding his head. He's very upset because it's been difficult. He wakes up from this nightmare. But basically, it's the end of the nightmare. With 9, you're talking endings and completion, as well as spirituality and generosity. But what I find interesting is the alignment here. Everything is in order. There's a certain structure to reordering your perceptions. You also see it here with this quilt when you see the same type of squares, same shape, same size. I did not bring my tea in here with me. The same size of squares there on the quilt. So out of the disorder of the nightmare of the ego in carcer holding you in one place, essentially, you wake up from it, again, with this 11 numerology for the whole reading. You wake up and everything is now placed in order and you can move on. In the 10 of swords, you'll see somebody laying on the ground next to a big body of water. There's some mountains in the distance. The night is lifting. You can tell that. The sun is not yet up, though. Although the light is there, the light is returning, and you see 10 swords piercing the guy's back on the ground. So you go from this waking up from the nightmare of the self-imprisonment of carcer to where now in the 10 you've gone as far as you can go, and the new day is dawning, essentially, and the light is returning. And the 11 numerology for the whole reading, the master 11 numerology, now is bringing illumination to your experiences, that is awakening you to a higher truth, essentially. And I think that when you live in the society that we live in right now, where people lie as easily as they breathe, and so you're looking at a desire to stay within the carcer experience themselves, of living a lie, of living something that they know full well is not true. They know it's not true. But there are others who may not. And so as they express these lies outward to others, to the rest of society, essentially, they're expecting all these people that they're speaking to believe everything they say. Right? Hook, line, and sinker. And in fact, that's not the case. It's a very imbalanced type of a thing. The idea of knowing when to assert yourself and when to listen. Just knowing when to speak and when to be quiet. That would be another way of seeing that. How are you doing that? Are you expressing yourself from the standpoint of ego, where you not only imprison yourself, but then if you're expecting other people to believe you as well, and in fact they do, then they're imprisoning themselves into the lie as well. Okay? And so instead of acting as the fool or the king in the chariot, where you're achieving some kind of balance with the king in the chariot, and you're trusting the process and trusting higher awareness, when you take that leap into form, into your experiences, and you see everything from the standpoint of the soul or higher awareness, well, if you did that, there would be no need for this, where you need to wake up from the nightmare, to wake up from the dream state. Well, the other way of saying the dream state is carcer. Because if you're living in something with perceptions that really aren't real, how is that not a form of a dream state? I mean, in a sense, it really is. And so you're binding yourself to a particular mindset, a particular type of perception that whatever you hear then out in the world is judged by that. If it, it's like that whole confirmation bias idea where you believe what you already know. And if something resonates with what you already believe or know, or what you think you know, which again is the ego keeping you there, then you only believe the things that you hear that confirm that, you see. The things that are actually true, you reject out of hand without even giving it a second thought. And how much of that is going on in people's lives today? And so if this is applying to something personal in your life, and it's not what we're all collectively sharing, if this is something personal, you've got to consider how much of what I believe is something that I can't really confirm anymore. There's too many other people out there saying, oh no, that's not true. And am I rejecting out of hand what they're saying without even listening? Am I simply believing what I've always believed without giving it another thought and just rejecting everything? That's the essence of carcer, that self-imprisonment of awareness, that self-imprisonment of perception that is not based in truth. It's not based in facts. It's not based in reality. It's based on the ego's hold on your perception. Okay? And so if that's happening, I would advise you to try to see it in a different way and to let go of the thoughts that you have that seem to reinforce one another, and get and step outside the in other words, open the little cage here, step outside of all of that, leave it there on the side, and then think about what other people are saying. Do your due diligence. If they're saying, no, that didn't happen, this happened, or this thing happened this way, not the way you think it did, it's likely researchable. Go do your due diligence, do your research. Look, get on Google it, find out, when did such and such happen? It's like, my husband's a veteran, and this whole veterans choice thing about who did it drives us crazy, because he was notified in 2014, August 7th, 2014, signed into law. The law done by Congress. President Obama signed veterans choice into law. But the last guy before the one now, oh no, I did that. No, he didn't. It's verifiable. It's that kind of thing. If it's verifiable, you've got to go check it out. And if you're operating under an illusion or a lie or whatever you want to call it, then you need to step away from that and accept the truth. No matter how much it might, upset you to do that and make you then rethink everything you believe. Well, what's wrong with that? It's almost like this guy's waking up from the nightmare, putting an end to all of this. The nightmare of perception, the nightmare of creating this belief structure that's based on what other people's agendas want you to believe because it serves them. It doesn't serve you. And now it's time to let that go, right? And to open the cage on your own perceptions and start thinking about things in a realistic way. Find out, is it true what you believe, or is it not? And if it's not, don't hang on to it. And if it makes you start rethinking other things, well, what's wrong with that? Nothing. And even if most of what you believe is true, you'll verify it, right? Because it needs to be verifiable. It's not just, well, I think this is what happened, or that's what people say happened. No, find out for yourself. Let that energy go within and this master 22 energy, and manifest something else for yourself. If you've been led down the garden path by somebody that does not have your best interests at heart, you have to know that. And then let it go and move into the truth of things, right? Create that balance between the shadow side of self and spirit. create that, or this way, the shadow side of self and spirit, the as above, so below thought process in your life, if you will. Drawing spirit into your awareness and letting that govern how you see things, in other words, instead of, the agendas of others that might sound good, but in the end, you find out it's a lie. It's the thing that people in Springfield, Ohio are going through right now. All the lies being told about the Haitian immigrants that are there, that were welcomed, that were asked to come. None of the stuff that's being said is true, but it stimulates some things in some people who want to believe that. But it's not true. And you can't say, well, so-and-so said it, so it must be true. No. Do your due diligence. Find out the facts, and you'll find out maybe that what you believe is not right. And then let go of it. Come back into some kind of a balance with the chariot. Take that leap of faith again, because we can do that every single day of our lives, where allowing higher awareness to govern how you see things. Even if it means that you just don't pass judgment yet, you don't make a decision about whether or not what you're hearing is true or not. You wait. You do your research. You find out, well, what are the facts here? And if somebody wants me to believe a lie, why do they want me to do that? See, that's the biggest question of all here, I think. And again, with the Nine of Swords, I just kind of had to laugh here. Once we had Carcer, it's like, this is the ultimate, Carcer experience, depending on what he does with this. And again, in the 10, he doesn't have a choice anymore. The light is returning. And in the interesting part of that card, as you see that person laying on the ground, face down, the person's head, the man's head, is turned toward the light. So turn toward the light. Let that energy from Ingus manifest into a potential where, instead of simply believing whatever people tell you, do your own due diligence and find out, is this true? And if it's not, then you have to ask, why do they want me to believe a lie? So that's kind of interesting. And it's interesting that we had Carcer on Thursday. We had Populace on Monday of last week, so you're following along with the crowd. And so then is the crowd imprisoning you on Thursday of last week with Carcer into something that isn't real, that's something that serves other people, but is a con. Why do they want you to believe the con? That's the biggest issue. And I think that you're really looking at the difference between Ingus and higher awareness, and Carcer and the ego's hold on your perceptions. It's really pretty simple. It just takes the ability, I think, that we see here with the Fool, where the Fool is able to take that leap of faith into form and into the experiences, we'll call it that. Take that leap into new experiences, and to do so with its visage or its gaze or its attention focused on higher awareness. The minute we get here, ego is like, ooh, a new one. We got a new one to work with. And it shouldn't be that way. That shouldn't be at least it shouldn't be as strong of an influence as it is. But it is. And I think it's just defining the dichotomy, the difference between the two, and the need for standing back and observing and being sure of what we see and being sure of the facts, being sure of the truth, before we then make a decision about whether or not we're going to believe it. And you have to turn off the noise around you, all the influences around you that may want to because they're doing it, so they're believing what they shouldn't be believing, and they're not being curious about anything, and so they want you to go along with them. And then that group gets formed, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's very hard, like we talked about with Populace on last Monday, a week ago, to break free from that. That's a pretty powerful hold, especially when there's a group of you that believe the same thing. It's easier to fall prey to people who have an agenda that want you to believe things that aren't true. So self-deception versus higher awareness, I guess. That's the road we travel here. And hopefully we end up on the road to higher awareness and letting that govern everything instead of ego going, no, 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 come back here. This is better. No. So anyhow, that's interesting, an 11 numerology for the reading, and a 22, which is double that for the manifestation rune of Ingus. If you don't, to me, the energies are very powerful to help pull you out of that self-imprisonment you've got going. If this applies to you, whoever's listening here, this applies to. Let yourself let yourself out of the cage. You don't need to be there. You can't be afraid of what the truth is, and if you can't be afraid to find out that somebody lied to you either. It doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to. But that's okay, because once you know, right? And you can reject it out of hand. And you can look at them clear-eyed. And and they can't reach you anymore. Their voice doesn't reach you anymore, which is what's supposed to happen. Anyway, that's it for today. Kind of interesting dovetailing to last week's stuff a little bit there, and I love when master numbers come into play, because it really, they're empowering, and that's what they're supposed to be, to not be afraid, to think a different way about things and see it differently, or at least consider it. Consider the possibility of something different, that something else is true and not what people are telling you is true. So thanks for watching. The forecast is a little bit different. I went ahead and I made some changes on it. That's out. You can take a look at that over on the blog at Stepping Aside. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, click on more below the video and a window will open, and it's right there at the top. I think I'm going to continue to do that. I'm doing it again that way this week for next week, and with more of an emphasis on the readings that I do within it. And then just a few paragraphs on what the astrological outlook is for the week. And so check that out if you would. If you like reading stuff over on Medium or Patreon or Substack, I'm also over there. You can read that over there as well. And I think that's all I need to say at this point. I don't think I didn't check the calendar to see what's coming up. I think there's a meteor shower, the Orionids or something tonight, or the next couple of nights are peaking. If you can see those, that might be fun to go out and watch. We'll see how cold it is here and whether or not there's cloud cover. So it's been an interesting celestial events with the Aurora Borealis, the comet, and now we've got a meteor shower. So very cool. It's kind of neat to be great if it all happened in one day, wouldn't it? That'd be so cool. But anyway, thanks for watching. And click subscribe if you haven't. I'd love you to do that, and come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.